Hey, everybody. Want to welcome you to the AGTV interview series. Please welcome CORNdiff to the program.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on, man? How you
sir?
doing?
I'm doing great. Doing great. How are you?
Nice. Oh, I'm doing good, man. Thanks for coming on and doing this. I really appreciate it. I'm a big fan of yours. I love your stuff. I really liked your Chad Zumock interview, and I really enjoyed you and Cardiff on Opie's podcast too.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, the Zumock interview, it was something, and it's always fun on there with Opie. But yeah, I've been seeing you around for a while. Definitely. Thanks for the invite. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, for sure, man. Yeah, I definitely want to do some more interviews. I got some stuff lined up, but it's been, it's definitely been a little bit of a slog for me. My first question for you is going to be, what motivated you to start your YouTube channel?
So I started out in the chats, and I loved just bullshitting around with the different people. Is it okay if I cuss?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Care? So yeah, like we would just bullshit around and heckle each other, and you start seeing regulars, and it was just fun. And I don't know, it just felt like, I guess, the natural progression, or I wanted more interaction. I don't know. Also, part of it is I'm a terribly nervous corn in most cases, so this has been a way to try and come out of that shell, I guess.
I think that's cool. I mean, whatever makes you feel more comfortable, just doing your thing and kind of just interacting. Honestly, I do find doing YouTube, I'm glad that more people are doing YouTube channels like in the Dabbleverse, because I think, to me, it's a lot more fun to do something creative as opposed to just live on Reddit. And like, you see the Reddit posting people,
Oh, yeah.
There's people that's obviously their thing, and that's cool. But to me,
Yeah.
just reading all the posts and all the text-based stuff, it's tedious for me. Like, I'd much rather enjoy watching other people just talk about stuff, and you know what I mean? You get a lot more of a sense of like people's personalities.
The Reddit scene was never really my thing.
There's definitely a lot of interesting information on there in the Discord and stuff, but I think it's like a lot of communities. I think it just eventually it just gets kind of grating, just reading all the, not even the negativity. I mean, I do think some people have some insight. I don't know if you were actually part of the Opie and Anthony subreddit.
No, actually, I didn't know that there was one. How long
Oh,
ago was that?
this was back in the day, and this was around the time, between the time that Reddit started becoming popularized, probably around like 2000. It started in 2005, so probably around like the 2010 era. But I
Oh, wow.
remember when I started, I was kind of late to the party. I know you're an old school O and A fan, but I was kind of late to the party to appreciating them. So I started going on Reddit, and there was a lot of, it was just extremely active. They would follow like everything that happened on the show. And I remember around the time that Anthony got fired in 2014. I think that it was maybe then, or maybe like a year after. It was around like 2015 that the subreddit got shut down. I wanted to ask you, what made you choose corn as opposed to a different type of vegetable?
Well, I did a lot of research and emailed quite a few people, and tried out many different things, and including different corns. But I don't know. This one just seemed. I always kept coming back to this one. I guess honestly, I was playing off of, obviously, Cardiff Electric's name, with
Right.
and to do. I ended up being CORNdiff propane. Um, so I got the diff and the utility at the end of it. But I guess corn starts with a C, Cardiff starts with a C. I don't know. I was trying to keep it close, but not too close. But I don't know. I wanted it to be parody, but
Right. You wanted it to be a good
and
parody. That makes sense.
not a rip off type of thing. Yeah.
Right. And I guess I was kind of curious as to how he came up with the name Cardiff Electric. And then I learned that Cardiff is a city in Wales. But I believe it's a reference to some kind of book that, it sounds like it's similar to Fahrenheit 451. But my takeaway from that is probably that Cardiff is maybe he's a little more well read, a little more intellectual than I am. Honestly, I really liked the SJ puppet. I know that that was one that Karl didn't think was funny for some reason, but I got such a kick out of it because I remember when I first saw it. And this was maybe like a year or 6 months back when Cardiff was doing this bit, and he was doing this thing where the puppet, I think, was a commentary on the Dabbleverse, because it was like he was a lazy Stuttering John comment. It's like he was Stuttering John,
Yeah.
but he was like a Stuttering John commenter, and he's like, "Hey, nice shirt, John. Hey, John, what are
Yeah.
you drunk? What did you drink? 8 beers?" And I was like, this is kind of funny because now he's making fun of us. He's making fun of the Dabble
Yeah.
people. And another thing that cracked me up is just the knowledge You know, if you know how you set up your camera when you're live streaming or whatever, you know, Cardiff is a big dude. So I know he's like hunched down on the ground like a
Yeah.
friggin' like whatever, a Muppet, like puppeteer doing
Yeah.
that. And I'm like, that's dedication to a bit. I do respect that. That's pretty cool.
Oh, he commits to the bit.
I wanted to play a game where I can try to guess 3 states that I think you might be from and the reasons why. Because, and don't tell me, right? If this is
Okay.
okay, if you don't want to do this though, because I know it's like, you know what I mean? It might be like your
I'm good
personal
with
information.
I'm good with I mean, I won't go down to city or
Oh,
anything
of
like
course,
that,
I
but
wouldn't either. And
um
I'm not
yeah.
trying to, you know what I mean, get pry into
Yeah.
anybody's life or anything like that. But I noticed you have a little bit of an accent. I'm actually currently living in Savannah, Georgia, and I'm from Boston
Okay.
originally. So I'm curious as to like the accents and the regions. And I had a chance to travel the country, and it's really kind of fascinating to me. I'm into US geography.
Nobody wants to hear you talk.
So the 3 states, if the number one, I'd have to guess, and this is because it might have significance to the corn. And don't tell me right away, but I'm gonna tell you the first three, and let me know if I'm right or wrong. And if I'm wrong after the first three, you don't have to tell me. But the first guess is I would say Iowa because of the corn. I'm wondering if maybe you're from Iowa. You sound like you could maybe be from the Midwest. The second one, also because of corn, I would say maybe Nebraska. And this is a little bit of a shot in the dark. I'm guessing no. You don't have to tell me, but I'm guessing maybe no.
Well, I'm waiting to hear all three before I give anything away.
My number three, and that's up to you. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I wouldn't mind. But my number three, because of the accent, if I really had to guess, I would say North Carolina.
Wow, no.
Am I totally wrong?
Yeah, I'm closer to you than any of those. I'm a Tennessee corn.
Oh, okay. All right. Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny because I
Yep,
went to
yep.
Tennessee when I went to the WATP live show last year, and I'd never been to Tennessee before, so I was trying to like scratch that off of my list of U.S. states that I could visit. And I got to say,
Yeah.
like Nashville was really cool. I had a really great time. The show was really great, but I got a chance to the next day. I went around and I just like walked around the city and I went to the bars and I checked out. I like listened to some music and got some barbecue and I went
Yeah.
to an art museum. Got some. I really got to like experience the city and it was cool. Like Tennessee, I'd never been to before. It's a beautiful state.
It's pretty nice. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
especially if you stay in an area in the Nashville area. If you go into some of these smaller towns on the outskirts, I mean, yeah, it can get kind of janky and hills have
Yeah.
eyes-ish. But
I've heard that
no, yeah,
Memphis is pretty crispy. That Memphis can be tough.
yeah. It seems to be a pretty rough by reputation place. I don't know how they've been doing of late, but hell, I think they made the national news at some point last year for some police brutality or something. So it's like there's always some bad shit going on.
I think they're number one for murders. I'm pretty sure Memphis is been it's like usually in the murder capital of the world. I'm sure they switch spots. They kind of play musical chairs for that number one spot. But I think Memphis it's usually in like the top three. But that's funny. So I was totally off. 3 and a miss, swing and a miss 3 times. So I struck out on that one. But that's interesting because I definitely picked up on a little bit of the Southern thing. So I was going to say, what got you into Opie and Anthony? Because you said you're an old school Opie and Anthony fan.
I'll be damned if I know how I first heard of them. If I knew of them before I got my first XM radio, or if the XM radio is how I discovered them.
So you actually paid for Opie and Anthony. You're a real fan then.
Oh yeah, no. I paid for XM radio monthly the whole time they were on, all those years.
Yeah, then you're an OG, man. Shit.
Yeah, I would listen to their show twice a day. The better part of the show, because my drive to work was a little over an hour, and I'd get up, start listening. And because I also had the XM. You remember that XM radio that they had that would go in your house and you could snap your car satellite radio into?
Yeah, it was like a little cartridge. It was like taking the faceplate out of your CD and you just
yeah. So I was a big fan of them, and they definitely shaped a good bit of my weird humor.
Yeah, no, me too. I mean, Anthony definitely opened up my eyes to a lot of shit. I mean, I'm kind of like an independent. When it comes to politics. I know if you follow me on Twitter, I shit post like a lot of conservative stuff and a lot of like anti-Biden stuff. But it's so funny because I was such a liberal before I started listening to that show. And it's not like I became conservative or anything like that. I really credit Anthony with opening up my eyes to a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he's a crazy character. And what I liked, I think, the most about the Anthony, I keep saying Anthony character, but about Anthony's role in the show was that he came from that blue collar background. And that's what I was doing when I was listening way back in the XM days. I was a welder and I had a factory job. And
Oh,
I was
nice, dude.
yeah, I mean, I was just barely getting by, and they were what kept the laughs going, you know. Everything could be shitty, but then you could tune into them, and there'd be something stupid that would make you laugh.
I don't know. I know exactly what you mean. And I don't know what it is about that show where you could always throw it on and have it be entertaining. I think I was kind of spoiled because, like I said, I kind of discovered them late. And what happened was I was living in an apartment where I didn't have cable, and I was like gonna get it set up, but I was too lazy. And I had this computer that I could connect to the internet and the YouTube, like in other words, the graphics card on my computer wasn't really that great. So I hadn't like gotten a computer where I could watch YouTube videos, you know, like instead of cable for entertainment. So then I started listening to Stern clips because this was around like 2012, 2013. So they were uploading a lot of Stern, like all this stuff was on YouTube. So I'm like, oh, great. I could just put on Stern like I used to and, you know, just listen to the bits. And then my buddy was like, why don't you listen to Opie and Anthony, dude? And I'd listened to Opie and Anthony a couple of times because my buddy was really into them. And then I was like, he's like, dude, he's so much funnier than Stern. They have all these different comedians on. And he was like trying to get me into it. So he sent me the link to one of the YouTube channels. And from that point on, it pretty much was just, that was all I did was just sit around and I was just listening to Opie and Anthony on YouTube.
I think I just remembered what led me into Opie and Anthony. It was,
really?
I think it was Jimmy. The Comedy XL channel, I think, was 150. And those were the only two channels I'd listened to, but I think I started out listening to comedy on XM radio. Norton was one of the main reasons I stuck around and listened to Opie and Anthony. I'd never seen anything like Jim Norton before, or heard anyone like that before, and it was just I couldn't turn it off.
He really is a unique guy, and honestly, I think the
Fucking
thing
nut.
I think the thing that really got me, the thing that really hooked me and made me an Opie and Anthony fan was that Jesse Ventura interview, the one with Jimmy,
God.
the one where he looked like he literally wanted to kill Jimmy. I couldn't believe it, and I was a big fan of Jesse Ventura, and that turned me. That made me go, oh my God, this guy's a fucking, like, I think he's.
I think I was too. Because I'd followed Ventura, I think, in some of his old wrestling shit that he did. And I didn't give a damn about the politics stuff, but I was like, oh, cool. Jesse, I know him. And to see how that interview played out, it turned me off of Jesse Ventura, and it made me have so much more respect for Jim Norton.
He sounded totally insane. That, here you go, thanks a lot, tough guy. You know who does a great impression of him is Aaron Imholte from SteelToe.
Oh, really? Does he?
Yeah, I had Aaron
Jesse
on.
Ventura.
Yeah, I had Aaron on, and he was doing his Jesse Ventura. He did a couple of Fargo voices and stuff because I was being curious about U.S. geography. I was asking him about Minnesota and stuff because that's a state I've never been to. But I find the Midwest to be really fascinating.
Me either.
Yeah.
While I'm a Tennessee corn, I do like the West, I think, more. Hopefully someday I'll move out that way.
Yeah, man. I actually I lived in Las Vegas. I moved out there. I'm from Boston originally, but I moved out to Las Vegas right before the pandemic happened. And I remember, like, on my road trip when I drove out there. I just like loaded my car up, drove from Boston to Vegas. And I remember I was listening to WATP, old Opie and Anthony clips. I mean, that was a time where I needed it more than ever. But yeah, no, the West is definitely nice. Utah is unbelievable. Utah and Colorado.
Really? I've been to Denver. That was really fun, but we kind of wasted that trip because on day one we went to the dispensary, and I shit you not, we spent the rest of that trip pretty much just hanging at or near the hotel.
That sounds fun though. Yeah,
stoned off our minds. I feel like I missed out on Denver though.
It's funny though, the first time that I got there, basically I was on my way out to Vegas. And I remember I pulled in on a Friday night, and I was so friggin' exhausted. Like, I was lucky that I made it there because I drove through Kansas basically. And, so it was a long day of driving. I had been driving for probably 10, 12 hours. And I got to my hotel. I did the same thing you did. I went to the dispensary, got to the hotel, and I was kind of like, I need to relax. And I also got like a nice hotel too. I had like a hot tub, and this was after a week of staying in shitty $50 a night places. So I was just like, I'm gonna get a nice room. I'm gonna like enjoy myself. But then I started feeling guilty because even though I wasn't on a timetable, I was like, shit, I should be out enjoying Denver. And here I am. I'm like all stoned in my hotel. So I made a deal that the next day on Saturday, I would go out and during the day, I'll go and I'll explore Denver. So I did. I got to do it. There's no reason for me to feel bad, but I remember driving through the Rocky Mountains because I had to go to Utah from Denver. Holy shit. If you ever get a chance, like the Rocky Mountains are beautiful, but driving through them, I drove through them at night in a snowstorm, and it was fucking terrifying. It's scary because you get to the top of a mountain and then you see a sign that says summit. It tells you basically you're at the top of a mountain, and that that means you're going to be going down from there. Yeah. And I was like, oh shit, because I'm white knuckling it. I don't know how slippery the roads are. And it's really scary. If you haven't driven on those roads, it's like the cartoons with the Roadrunner and the Coyote. It really is like that. So I was seriously concerned, like I might slide off the side of a mountain and they might never find me. So I was terrified. So I said to myself, I'm going to pull over now. I'm going to pull over, go to a gas station, wait for a couple of hours. And of course, there's not another exit for like 20 miles because you're at the top of a mountain. So that was pretty scary. But oh my God, yeah, Colorado was unreal. Utah, it's like you're on the surface of Mars.
Yeah, that mountain thing would be terrible, especially with the snow. Just going up, I think there's I don't know. There was some mountain peak we went to last time I went to Vegas, and me and a buddy, we drove up to the top of it, and he was driving, but I was so fucking terrified of that he was going to drive off the mountain hit a patch of gravel and slide off the mountain or something. It was the narrowest I know what you mean about like the cartoony type roads. It was just a narrow, winding road, and we're being like we're passing RVs that are taking these turns, and I'm like, oh my God, everyone's gonna die.
Yeah.
The heights and all that shit terrifying, and I couldn't imagine doing that with the snow.
Oh yeah, and you're in Colorado, so everybody around you is a local. They're used to it, so they're just flipping you off and passing you going 80, and I'm driving like an old lady, but I get everything I own in my fucking car too. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it weighs more. It's going to slip and slide. And I just had no idea this was a trip where I was like, well, I'm just going to, in my head, it seemed so much more of like, well, I'm going to plan it out and I'm going to pack my car and then I'm just going to drive to Vegas. And it was just so much more terrifying than I realized. What do you think distinguishes the Opie and Anthony fans from like the Dabbleverse and WATP audiences? Do you think it's like the fact that a certain amount of time has passed? Or do you think that like the Stern dynamic is do you think the Stern dynamic is a big factor?
That's a good question. What distinguishes the Opie and Anthony fans from the Dabbleverse people?
Yeah, because to me, I feel like WATP, it's like the reason I love that show so much is because to me, it was the first time where I said, this is something where it's almost like the Opie and Anthony show. You know what I mean? It felt like the Opie and Anthony days, kind of.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. It's, I mean, the Dabbleverse people are made up of both Opie and Anthony and Stern fans, and it's usually either or. I don't know a lot of them that listen to both. I don't. I can't.
But do you know what I mean? Because I feel like back in the day, it was like the Stern fans and Opie and Anthony fans. It was like West Side Story. You know what I mean? Like you get the different gangs. It's bump, bump, bump. That's kind of what it reminds me of. The different little, but even if you think about it now, you think about the Dabbleverse, it has its own factions. Because I mean, I don't follow the MLC stuff. I like Kevin Brennan, but I've never really been into their show as much. Like I never understood the Perry Carvalho stuff, and I like Perry Carvalho. No. He seems like a nice guy, but I was wondering, like, were they trying to, like, did they all think he was going to be like the next Stuttering John or something? Like I never understood him.
Like Perry and how he came to be.
Well, why like the Dabbleverse? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have no idea. I've tried. I've watched maybe 2 episodes or 2 of his shows, Perry's, but I don't. I don't know. It's just not for me. It's kind of like I mean, and it's not even that it's not entertaining. I just, for some reason, I just find myself not sticking around all the time.
Yeah,
for
I mean,
most
I
of the
like
time.
him. He seems like a nice guy. Everybody seems to like him, but it seems kind of like an act, like he's in on it, like it's a Sam Kinison, like he yells all the time and nah, nah, nah. And I'm like, yeah, like you said,
Yeah,
I don't know, maybe it's just not for me. Maybe I'm just not sophisticated enough to enjoy it.
I think it's weird. One of the things I like the least about his show is how mean his producer treats him. It seems like it's like they're so demanding of him. They're like, no, Perry, you're not going to do this. You won't do that.
Well,
No,
that's what I
they just
mean
treat
is
him like he's a kid.
it's got to be an act though, because if they are, if you know what I'm saying, it's like don't you think
Yeah.
that would be abuse or like exploitation if that's not the case?
Yes, yeah, it would have to be one of those. But if it's an act, holy hell, he is committing to it in in like a Kaufman type of level, like he's really
Kaufman-esque.
committing to it.
Isn't it so funny? I'm so glad that
Kaufman.
there's so much appreciation for the comedy of Andy Kaufman. I don't even know if what you call what he did comedy, or if it was like it was like he was the first one to really do like weird meta anti-comedy, post-comedy, whatever you call it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? What would you call the anti-comedy?
we I liked the weird meta when you called it that, to be
Yeah.
honest. Yeah, it's just it's entertainment. You don't quite know what to call it, but it's entertainment in a weird way.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you
He's
another
great at it.
question. What do you think, like looking back, how do you think the audience perceptions of Opie and Anthony have changed over the years? And do you think that Opie and Anthony, do you think they themselves have changed?
Um, Audience perceptions of Opie and Anthony, I don't think that they've probably changed. I think Opie and Anthony have stuck to who they are, and uh, yeah, I mean, no, I don't feel like that's changed that much. Now, what was the second part of the question? Was how?
Like, do you think that they've changed as people? Do you think that Opie and Anthony ending changed? Like, do you think it
Mm,
had an effect on them personally?
it probably had an effect on them, but I don't think it had like a. I don't think it had a great effect on them like personally. I think just they were just in a bad relationship, making the best out of it. They made it work for that many years, and then something came up, and it kind of that was the wedge that was needed to separate them a little further, apparently. But yeah, they were just in a relationship that didn't work. It ran its course.
Yeah. No, and Jimmy was in the middle of it too. Speaking of Jimmy,
Yeah, the retarded child.
and it's so funny. How funny is it? Would you have ever imagined that after all these years that they would both be gone? I mean, you'd imagine that eventually Opie and Anthony would end, but would you ever think that they would both be gone and Jimmy would still be there with a fucking gig? He'd be the last man
No,
standing.
no, never
Yeah.
would have guessed that. No, especially what's the other one? Sam Roberts.
Oh my God, right? And I
Yeah,
don't like have a problem with Sam Roberts. I mean, I guess he was a good producer or whatever and a good shit stirrer, but I I swear to God, and it's nothing against them, but I never was. That's another show I just never really was interested in. Was Jim and
no,
Sam?
he must be a good. He's definitely a good shit stirrer, but he must be good at talking behind the scenes and impressing the right people, I guess.
Yeah, he definitely
Um,
seems like somebody that knows how to play the game.
yeah, and he's great. He's really good at keeping the conversation moving and or staying on track. I mean, it's just I've noticed that about him. There's not a lot good I can say about him, but
The
definitely that.
Nancy Grace interview was pretty awesome, though. I really enjoyed that one.
I haven't seen that one I remember it ended poorly. Did she walk out on that one?
I like what the answer you just
Oops.
gave.
I think our time is up. Bye bye.
Take care. You can leave if you want. Don't worry, we're not going to kill ourselves after the interview.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Nancy,
You're welcome.
for stopping by.
That went better than I thought it would.
Yeah, I mean it may I'm trying to think like it may from an Opie and Anthony standpoint. I think it was good. Is what I mean is it was, you know what I mean, it was like cringe to watch, but at the same time I don't know if you
Yeah.
would say that they did a professional job. It probably was a little antagonistic in a way, you know what I mean, not that that's really their goal, but I
Yeah.
think, you know what I'm saying, it's like I think part of doing an interview, if you're really going to do an interview and you really want to take it seriously and go professionally, even if it's somebody where, you know what I'm saying?
I'm a babbling idiot.
It's like you don't want it to seem like personal or petty. And I guess it's hard sometimes. I guess when you are talking to someone and you're having a genuine, it's I guess the difference between like doing a podcast where you're having a genuine face-to-face conversation with someone and you're being totally honest versus like when you're, you know what I mean? When you're interviewing for that type of an interview and you have to be a little more cordial, you know what I'm saying? You have to be a little more, what's the word? I guess professional. I guess that's the word.
Yeah.
You must have been at the top of your fucking class.
I have a ton of respect for how they never did back down or try to just go along with it just to please the guest. They didn't give a damn if the guest would walk out or stay or whatever. They stuck by their opinion.
Yeah, well, I can understand why there's so much criticism of her, you know? It's just, she really kind of started that whole, to me, it was like the beginning of that cable news, like bullshitty, you know what I'm talking about? That overproduced cable news where they present a news story and they tell you absolutely what to think and who's guilty. And you know what I'm saying? It's not like
the Nancy Grace stuff.
Yeah, it's not objective. It's like salacious. It's like
it has an agenda. They're not coming at it with a neutral viewpoint, just presenting facts. It definitely they put so much spin on it. It feels like sometimes.
Oh yeah, and it's ghoulish too.
Yeah,
like,
it can be.
I think one of the things they called her out for was that she reported on some kid that got abused or murdered or something. She got something totally wrong, or she didn't know the kid's name or something, and they called her out. And she was like, I think the real thing about that was that she was super defensive and it was one of those like, I came here to promote my book, and if y'all don't want, you know, if y'all don't want to be respectful, if y'all just want to like be antagonistic toward me. So I mean, she had her part to play in that going off the rails too.
She came in wanting no pushback, no resistance, nothing, and they brought up something she apparently didn't like, but
it kind of reminds me of the Paris Hilton interview that Opie and Anthony did. And you remember it was a couple of years ago, she came out and said, oh, I was like, they were sexist against me for whatever reason. I don't know why she felt like she had to bring that up and try to, you know, make that into a whole thing because of Me Too, I guess. Because the Opie and Anthony show, it definitely attracted a lot of a lot of talented producers and people and stuff like that, but a lot of really quirky people. You know what? Somebody that I was thinking about recently, and I like a lot of his bits, but I don't think that he's on the internet at all. Whatever happened to Ben Sparks?
Ben Sparks,
the old producer. I know what happened. He ended up pretty much getting fired, or he quit because he had that big falling out. He had a falling out with Opie and with Jimmy. But what I mean is, like, whatever happened to that guy? Did he just disappear off the face of the earth?
I don't remember much about him. I don't think I've thought of, or I don't think I've heard that name since it was said by Opie and Anthony on radio.
He was the producer in one of the older producers. He was like, I think in like the 2000s, I think around like 2001 era. I think he was like I could be wrong, but I think he was like the main producer. I think he was kind of like the big dog over there.
I had completely forgotten about him. I don't know. So you haven't heard or seen anything about that? About him?
No, well, I was just kind of curious. I was like, oh, I wonder if he's doing a podcast. You know what I mean? You think he'd maybe have a podcast?
Probably so.
You think
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, you think maybe with all this Opie and Anthony shit on Reddit and on the internet, you think he would, you know what I mean? Because a lot of the other people, they pop up and, you know, they try to capitalize on stuff. And, you know, it seems like nowadays everybody has an online presence or a podcast or something. And
yeah, everyone's got a gimmick.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I was going to ask you, what motivated you to reach out to Opie? I mean, you must have been psyched when he agreed to do that interview with you.
Oh yeah. Well, no, so I've never really done an interview with Opie. It was I've just popped on his show a few times.
Well, I mean, your appearance, but that was good though. I mean, that turned out so good. And the reason I liked it is because like I've seen, and believe me, I've covered Opie too. So I know, you know, as somebody where I am a fan of Opie, like I feel bad that like stuff got so negative after a while. And I always felt like it had an effect on him. And it made me feel good to see him enjoy podcasting with somebody.
Yes. Yeah. No, I don't know. I'll be honest. I was probably had half a foot, or I had 1 foot in the realm of being a troll and the other foot in the realm of being, I was just like, just wanting to chat with someone that I looked up to many years ago, but I hadn't really followed him that much up until all this Stuttering John and Dabbleverse stuff looped me in last year. Then I got back into Opie, and but no, it was amazing. Yeah, to chat with someone that you'd listened to for so many years. He's a cool dude, and
I think that's
I do
great
feel like it took a toll on him too.
Yeah, no, I think he really enjoyed talking to you. And the reason I think it's great is because it's like, I mean, it's okay. Like, I mean, we're all, at the end of the day, aren't we all just fucking trolls? You know what I mean? We're all on the internet yelling at somebody, parodying somebody, satirizing somebody. We're sticking our nose into other people's business. You know, the what is it? The train wreck, bottleneck, car crash effect. We're all kind of, you know, we're all kind of getting our kicks. And in some way, I feel like we're all trolls. We're all kind of lol cows too, in a way. But and I'm speaking generally, I'm being maybe a little philosophical, but I think it's nice because I feel like with Opie, I thought the way you did that, the way that you played it was just, it was really nice. It was nice. Like you were just having fun with him. You were having a real conversation. And for once I felt like he had his guard down. Cause I think the real,
so you're talking specifically on that first time I talked with Opie.
It was just you, and then you did the one with Cardiff, right? My memory might be a little fuzzy on the timeline.
No, that's right. So the first time I went on with Opie was around the time he had just started posting the links to StreamYard to hop on, and he posted it on Twitter one day, and I mean I'd been on his morning stream chats, like I don't know, most of the days that he would come on, and then I saw that afternoon that he'd put the StreamYard link up and he was doing some kind of afternoon stream. And I was at work and I immediately left work, went home and turned on the computer. And he was just, I mean, he was, I don't know, sometimes he wraps up for like 5 or 10 minutes. You know how that is. And he'd already started the wrap up process. So like I'm driving on the way home and I'm listening.
You're talking about he's doing roll call where he's naming everybody and thanking everybody.
No, I'm talking like he was at the end of he was towards the end of his show by the time I was starting to head home. And I was like, oh God, I'm going to miss it. Because I needed to get to this computer to do the corn thing. And I was like, holy shit, I had to race home. And before I even got home, he was starting to wrap up the show, and I was like, "Oh God, I'm gonna miss it." But then so I was in a panicked, rushed state of mind when I first connected with him. So I was just relieved that I made it even to the show to get on there. So I wasn't even. I guess it put me at ease being that panicked right before going on. It's like it made it easier talking to him.
It's kind of like if you just make it on time for a job interview for a job that you really want.
Yeah. It's like the interview no longer has the same amount of pressure as it once did.
That's awesome. Actually, I had that happen one time where I was going to, it was a job. I ended up getting the job, but I remember I lived about an hour away. And I just, for whatever reason, I wasn't going to be late, but you know, when you're like an hour away and the GPS says you're just going to be on time and you're like, oh, fuck, man, then there's going to be traffic. And so you get panicked. And I remember just the whole way driving like an asshole. I ended up not being late. I think I was like 3 minutes early, but since I was an hour away, I was panicking. I know exactly what you're talking about. And as I pulled in there, I normally would have been so nervous and so worried. And I was like, you know what? I got this. I made it here. You know what I mean? If I made it here, I can't be stressed out.
You just went through 15, 30, half hour, you know, whatever of that much adrenaline, and you're just panicked and freaking out. And then you're in this instant state of relief. You're like, oh shit, I made it finally.
Yeah.
Right, now all I got to do is sit down and talk. That's all I got to do.
Oh yeah. So I remember when you went on Opie's show with Cardiff together, and there seemed like there was a little tension. Maybe there might have been a little bit of a rivalry. I remember
that potato needs to learn his place. Is all I'm going to say about it. No,
no. Well, what I was going to say is like I remember he accused you of ripping his concept off, and obviously that is a very common complaint in the Dabbleverse, and I think in a lot of commentary communities, certain things. I mean, you know, a lot of people are covering the same content. You might have some parallel thinking or whatever, but I don't know if he was kidding or not. Did you end up patching things up with him ever? Or
we tolerate each other, we'll say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're fine. We're totally fine. He's what kind of made me want to get into all this to begin with. Like while I was part of the chat and all that and hanging out in there, and I wanted to do more, it was just I didn't know what to do. I had no idea what to do. I didn't want to come on as myself because I have a job and I don't want to fuck that up. And I wanted some kind of way to be myself online. So when I saw Cardiff doing his thing, I was like, I'd never seen that before. And I was like, holy shit. It just, after however many episodes, it dawned on me. I was like, oh my God, this is kind of what I've been looking for. I can't be a potato. He's already a potato. He's the potato. So what else can I be? But no, me and Cardiff are totally fine, I believe.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, honestly, the VTuber thing I think is kind of it's a much more popular phenomenon, especially with the advent of the whatever the CGI technology. But in a way, it's almost like you're kind of a superhero. It's like you put on this uniform and you're CORNdiff, you know?
The VTuber?
Yeah, they call it VTube, like virtual tuber. It's basically like a YouTuber where instead of seeing your face, you either are a talking avatar. It's basically like what you and Cardiff do. Or in like I've done a version of it before, and I was kind of inspired by Mr. Medicare, because so I did a couple of shows where you'd see my picture. I'd like flash my picture up on the screen when I was talking, but there was no video of me. So you know what I mean? It was almost like me kind of doing an audio podcast, but the video of the thing I was covering would be there, but not me. And this was much more comfortable because like right now I got like studio lights on myself. It's my green screen's like right up against me, so it's not like necessarily comfortable. Right. So every now and then I'm thinking about bringing that show back too, where it's almost like kind of like a radio show sort of. And when I record it, I can do it in the dark. You know what I mean? It can be a lot more comfortable. So that's another thing I think that's cool about what you're doing, the VTuber thing. It's like, not everybody has to necessarily be on camera.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I mean, like Obnoxious John, hell, for the most part, he's just been a still image.
Yeah.
Up until recently.
What is he? He's like an ectoplasm now or something like that.
He's an orange. He's just a really fat looking orange.
Is he an annoying? Is he like the annoying orange?
Is he what?
Like the annoying orange? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't know who that is or what that is.
It was check it out sometime, but it was a YouTube channel where it was an orange. Basically, I think it was the precursor to the potato. It was kind of like an orange, but it was a person talking, and I was like, "Hey, I'm the annoying orange." And this was like around 2000.
Oh, I see. No, I just looked it up. No, he's I guess in a way kind of like that. But no, he's just this pudgy cheeked orange. It's a cool look, and it's neat to be able to see some expressiveness out of OJ as we're used to hearing the voice, but it's now you can get a little more. It's more interactive. I don't know. It's not the right word, but you know what I mean. When you get to see the facial expressions, even if it's just eyes and a mouth, just it's nicer.
I know what you mean. It gives a little bit more. There's a presence there. When people watch you, it's like your individuality, your quirkiness, whatever it is that makes you is your currency. Like somebody else can do a similar show to the one you do, but nobody else can do what you do exactly. Like nobody else can sing your song the way you sing it, you know?
Like the potato that existed before Cardiff. He's still around, but he's still getting like 5 views per video. not to knock him, but I mean, he's a great guy. It's just a small niche podcast.
Did John returning to podcasting and finally engaging with Karl and Shuli and Casey and everybody, did that meet your expectations?
I guess it did, yeah. Because I mean, the only expectation I had was for him to come back and have not changed, and it looks like he did. He's come back and he's pretty much right where he left off at, it seems. And in my opinion, I mean, he's still 100% John.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got the Benjamin Franklin hair.
Yeah, that's weird. That is weird. I wish he would do something with that, like some little side bun or something at least. But
yeah, I mean, I really can't talk. I've let my hair get really long and it looks ridiculous. Like the other day, I looked at myself in the mirror and I looked and I was like, I'm starting to look like Chris D'Elia. I don't think John can pull off the shaggy look. And I think I don't know. I feel bad, man, because I had a huge like feud with John of my own. You know, it was a stupid thing over him striking my channel. And like I'll admit I was guilty of maybe like dragging it on too far, like maybe fucking with him a little bit too much with the videos I would do. But the thing is, like, I realized after I've taken a lot of time away from this stuff that like I really like I don't want to see anything bad happen to John, you know. So whatever happens, like it's nice to see that he's okay and that he's moving on. He's trying to figure out his life and get that back on track. I think if he gets his life under control, I think it'll be better for everything and everybody. And I mean, at the end of the day, he is a human being. I definitely, you know, I don't want to see anything bad happen to him. And, you know, I'm not going to lie. I was definitely pissed off at him for a long time.
Pissed off at him. So he struck your channel?
Yeah, actually, he tried to nuke my channel. This was back in 2021. And I don't know if you had seen this, but he was like he had this super chatter. He had this pay pig, and it was this woman named Heather W. And she donated a ton of money to him. And they were like kind of dating. I think he was courting her a little bit. And this lady was like a Stern fan, like like one of those fans that she called Stern all the time. She was like I'm not trying to be judgmental, but she was like a nutty kind of Stern fan, but she really was enamored with John, ended up having this friendship with him, and then they had a falling out. So then like she came forward, she went on WATP and said that John had been threatening her, sending her all these like weird emails, and that his chat moderator team was in on it and all this stuff. So I ended up actually interviewing her because John struck my channel. So I made a couple of references. I started doing a show. This is before I did all the John content, and I would just do reaction videos about this and that. I did a couple episodes about John, and it actually got back to him, and then he ended up striking my channel for that. So then I was like, fuck it. I ended up like reaching out to this Heather lady and saying, hey, do you want to do an interview? So I had her on, and then that kind of, you know, so me and John, we had like kind of a back and forth thing, but he was definitely pissed off. I got a lot of really creepy messages. I think it was like he has friends that do stuff for him, you know, like the people that make the thumbnails. And by the way, I'm going to bring that up later too, the thumbnail thing. I don't know if you know about that.
Okay. The thumbnail thing. No, what about it?
With Shuley. Oh yeah, I guess it's a whole fucking thing now, and he's getting like a lot of shit right now.
I don't follow Shuley much.
Yeah, I actually had him on. He came on for an interview. He was really great. I do like Shuley a lot, but I think this thing is gonna it's definitely gonna give them a lot of negative attention. But they're anyways, I'm sorry, I'm doing a terrible job explaining this, but yeah, so I honestly, like, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did think it was interesting. I thought Karl did a really great job. Whoever the hell brokered that thing, like whoever made that happen, shout out to them. I mean, definitely props to whoever it was that brokered that thing. I think it was Kevin Brennan or maybe one of their producers, but I just thought that the whole time I was thinking, who figured out how to make this happen? Because I don't know what it was. What do you think it was that made John finally want to do that?
Want to do what? To come back?
Yeah, well, not come back. I figured he was eventually going to do that, but what do you think motivated John to finally engage with Karl? And I'm not just talking about the money and stuff, because they've offered him money before.
I don't know. I'd be purely guessing. I can't imagine why he would. He made kind of a power move when he just shut his shit down and left.
Honestly, I agree with you. I totally think that was really his one card to play was, well, fuck you. I'm going to take my ball and go home, and we'll see how you guys like that. All you people that, and he's right. People do rely on him in that sense. I mean, I got to be honest with you. There's a part of me that always I didn't want to be the Stuttering John guy, but as soon as I would go, you know what, I'm not going to cover him for a while, I realized like it's not as easy. It's easier said than done to just move on and to do some other stuff. And I'm basically doing that. I'm not covering John anymore personally, but I understand why people want to continue doing it, because it's very easy. He's very funny. It's very interesting. Sorry. Another question I was going to ask you is, do you think him engaging with people face to face, talking about people like Karl, do you think him engaging with Karl and Shuley and them face to face, do you think that's going to ease the tension in the long run, or do you think it's just going to escalate things and piss him off more?
Do I think Stuttering John engaging face to face is gonna escalate? Is gonna do what?
Do you think like tensions are gonna be lower now between him and Karl and all that stuff? Do you think him talking to Karl, like, what's your opinion on that? Because I feel like when he was on MLC with Karl, I felt like Karl was pretty straightforward. Karl was pretty honest with him. And he wasn't trying to be
Yeah.
I really don't feel like Karl was trying to be an asshole, but he was honest. It was that's to me what was so awkward about it. You know what I mean? Is I was just like, I don't know.
They have to have. I mean, since they, I feel like they have had to have aired some of this out, but just by talking. So I mean, some of it's got to be a little bit less intense for them, less emotional. It's got to be less emotional for them now, right? They've aired it. They've said their piece to each other. They know where they stand. They stood their ground, type of thing. All that shit.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they'll ever be in friends or anything like that.
Well, I don't think that, but I thought to myself, my first thought when they started talking and this happened, like I watched it. I got to admit, like I'm not nearly as interested in this stuff as I used to be. I used to be like one of the Reddit spurgs that was like every day, like, oh, what stupid thing did he say today? And I'm talking 2 years ago when it seemed to me like it was kind of the apex of the Stuttering John arc. And now I feel like almost like it's in the twilight. Like it's still interesting, but it's in kind of, you know what I mean? I feel like it's kind of past the peak in a sort of sense.
Yeah,
but,
it's downhill.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt.
Definitely.
Like I know some of these questions might seem like they're loaded or like it's like,
yeah,
you know what I mean, or like it's like a big question. But I do value your opinion. You seem like somebody that you get your ear to the ground with this kind of stuff.
No,
And
I appreciate
think
it. No,
interesting. We
other
all
great
have a different interpretation of the stuff that's going on. You know.
And no, you have great questions, man. I mean, you sent me kind of a rundown of the stuff beforehand.
And I'm sorry if that was a bit much because I've like freaked people out before, like Erock, which I never ended up actually interviewing him. I sent him the question list and he was like, Jesus fucking Christ, what is this? He's like, so I didn't get like offended, but it was things kind of devolved and I ended up actually not doing the interview with him because the more I talked to him, the more I was like, oh, you know what? I feel like it's going to be yeah, I don't think he really wants to do it. And I'm like, another thing is he kind of called me out. He said, I know that you were affiliated with the Opie and Anthony forums and the Opie and Anthony subreddit. I'm actually not affiliated with the forums. Like once the subreddit got taken down, I sort of moved on. That's when I got into WATP. But when he said that to me, I was kind of like, oh, he doesn't trust me. He thinks I'm going to have him on and do some kind of a, you know, set him up, make him look stupid. And I'm like, oh God, you know, and that's
tomfoolery.
That's not how I like to do shit. And that's what, you know, that's part of what me sending a question list out is about. But at the same time, it's like, it might seem like it's a lot. So if I over explained, I didn't want you to be like, Jesus Christ, like, what is this War and Peace novel that you DM'd me about?
No, man. Dude, no, I appreciated it. I guess my first thought was, it was, very thorough, probably unnecessarily thorough.
Yes,
but I'm not going to fault anyone for that. I would rather that be the case than not thorough enough. But now, dude, it was a lot. I skimmed over it and I was like, this looks fun. Yeah,
cool.
This looks great. Yeah, we'll just go with it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think I'm one of those people. I like to be thorough. Like I have this fear that I'm not going to be prepared. And so I think sometimes in life, I think I over prepare in a lot of different ways. Like I have this dream. It's a recurring dream. I think a lot of people have it where you're in school and you're about to graduate, but you don't know if you've got enough credits to graduate. And I'm wandering around the school and all my friends, everybody's like being fitted for cap and gowns. Everybody is like, oh, we're graduating tomorrow. And I'm like, did I pass my class? Like,
dude,
it's so weird.
This nightmare you're describing, that shit like that. No, that's not a nightmare. I lived that. I didn't know I was going to graduate until the day before ceremony.
Holy shit.
Because it all hinged on passing one test. I did not do great in high school, mainly because I was short attention span type ADD and all that.
I got ADD too, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah, and I also didn't like shitty teachers that had these that like to go on power trips and shit. I had no respect for them, and I let it show more than I should have. But wait, where the fuck were we going with that?
Oh, it's the dream, the test dream. I think that's what they call it.
No, yeah, that's I know how terrifying that can be, though. Yeah, so that's a recurring one for you.
Yeah, the test. I think what it is not being prepared. I feel like I'm not prepared for things. So it's the test dream and also the school bus, missing the school bus dream. I have that all the time too. And
Oh shit.
yeah, so it's weird. So that just it kind of reminds me that I don't even know why I brought that up. Like I remember we were talking about the dream thing, but I don't know why the hell I feel like it's weird that I've gotten onto a tangent where I'm talking about my dreams. It
No,
seems
no.
like a
Tell me more. No,
yeah,
no, it
right.
no, but the preparedness, I get that, and I've only done a handful of interviews. Then I kind of trailed off onto other things and haven't really picked it back up yet. But the ones I did, yeah, no, I did not feel prepared for those whatsoever. Was terrified, and I probably was spending a solid week on each one of them of doing prep work to try and be prepared. And then it's like you can do so much research on someone, and then you realize, wait a minute, am I digging into personal stuff that just is online? And you're like,
Right.
This is stuff I can't even discuss. And
I know what you mean, but I feel the same way, dude. It's weird. It's like I've gotten not uncomfortable, not nervous, but it's like I'm out of my element when I'm podcasting or I'm doing if I'm appearing on somebody's show or if I'm doing an interview, because I'm so used to most of what I do is me alone. Like I'll do a live stream by myself, and I do like having complete control over everything. And I also had to learn to be a better listener too, because I'm one of those people I had to learn to know when to stop talking and when to start. The first time I was on WATP, I was like, I didn't know that. I was like brand new and never been on a show before. And it was a phoner. And this is during the Stuttering John striking my channel time. So I remember I kept like talking over Karl because there was a delay, and he was like, stop talking, like hold it. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And I was like, oh my God, I was so fucking dude. The first
Karl
time
talks quite a bit too, though. So I mean, holy shit,
I mean,
calling the kettle black.
He's pretty professional. Like he's good with that. He
Yes.
obviously is a good broadcaster. The one thing about, and this is just the format of his show though, and there's a lot going on. WATP is a big show now. Even when I called in, this was a couple of years ago, it was still a big show back then. But it was for me, it almost felt like, do you ever see the Louis C.K. bits where he talks about going on the Man Cow show? And you know how Louis C.K. is. He's like an intellectual. He's not a zippy soundbite kind of guy. So someone like him, where he's very thoughtful, kind of introspective or whatever you call it. He's like an intellectual. And then he goes on that show and they're like, hey, like Louis, so what do you think about this? So blah, blah, blah. And then you have like 2 seconds to talk and you're like, well, I think, and they're like, well, what do you mean by that? Well, like it was, you know what I mean? It was weird. It's like it's like jumping on a carousel and then everything's moving. And I was definitely, that was an experience for sure.
Trying to hop on a moving train.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was interesting. And then I was on there again. He had me on. This was after once he was on YouTube and stuff like that. So I zoomed into their show because I picked a podcast. I picked a podcast for him to do. And dude, he was so fucking mad, dude. Karl, he was like literally annoyed with me. And he's like, so why'd you pick this podcast? They hated it. They hated the podcast that I picked. And it was a podcast. What? I told them that I made the mistake of telling them that I like the podcast. So they were like, they put me on the spot. So Karl, he DM'd me at like 10 a.m. on like a Tuesday or something. So I was hungover. I'm tired. I was working the night. Yeah. I had to work in like 2 hours. I was going to the gym. I'm like doing my day errands and shit. So then he's like, hey, can you like Zoom on the show today at 3:00, or can you StreamYard in? Like, we want to talk to you, whatever. I just wanted to have you, hop on for a few minutes to talk. And I'm like, oh, maybe it's about the Stuttering John shit. I don't know. But I was happy. I was like, oh, cool. But then I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, then the nervousness kicked in and I'm like, I'm not prepared. Like, I started making excuses. I'm like, I got to go to the gym. I don't know if today would be good. Maybe I can like call it. And he's like, dude, fuck the gym. Just come on the show. And I'm like, okay. So then I went on and he was like, as soon as I went on there, so he's like, so Adam, you like this podcast? Like, tell us why you like it. And I just was like, duh. Like I had nothing to say. I had no idea. I mean, it's not.
Put you right on the spot.
Yeah, it's not like Karl had to send me a question list or tell me this is the reason you're coming on the show. But I just kind of forgot that I had even suggested it. And I was like, and I felt so stupid. Muttering J, Muttering J. He basically and Muttering J, he's kind of interesting because he digs into a lot of people's lives. Like he's a guy where I wouldn't want to be on his bad side. And I kind of distance myself from a lot of these types of people because they get like really into
he's the one with that does like the news report type stuff, right?
Yeah, he does like the exposes. He's the one who exposed Michael Sowonowski, Tony Michaels. Okay. He's the one. So I thought that was pretty impressive because when people started saying that, when everybody was saying all this, they were talking about what he did. You know about Tony Michaels, right?
I do not.
Oh, that's okay. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm way. I'm not following this stuff as much anymore, but maybe I was like way too much into this stuff. So John was on a podcast, and one of his people was this guy Tony Michaels. And he's like one of those liberal. He was part of the Midas Brothers, the Midas Touch or whatever. So he was like this liberal podcaster podcasting with John, and it turns out that this guy was not who he said he was. He had a past identity where he was arrested for selling K2 to kids. He was like selling drugs to kids and stuff. So
that thing. No, okay, I heard about that. I didn't know who that was.
He's the dine-in drive-through, the idiot who would do those stupid fast food vlogs where he wouldn't even talk about the food. He would be like, I'm about to go order McDonald's, and then like he'd go up to the like window, and as soon as they handed him the food, he'd be like, well, that was my vlog, like, goodbye guys, have a good one. It's like, you didn't even eat the food. That was the whole point.
Yeah, we're gonna get McDonald's.
You know what I mean? I'm sorry if I'm getting way out in the weeds here, but it was just like this. Yeah. I'm starting to remember like why this whole phenomenon was so fascinating, because it seemed like not only was John interesting, but it was like all these weird people he was associating with were almost as interesting and as funny to cover as he was. But what about Hal Sparks? Do you ever watch Hal Sparks' show?
No, I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure what he's turning into either.
Elvira or something like that.
Yeah. But no, nothing against him. He seems to be entertaining. It's just not another one that's not for me. But
I don't like his politics. I don't think he's funny at all. But
yeah,
I do think he seems like a decent guy. I mean, like I said, I think his politics. He's another insane liberal. But I mean, you gotta admire, I feel like, the way he tried to help John. I think he tried to be a friend to John. But
John just kind of shot himself in the foot every step of the way with all that.
His show can definitely be funny to cover sometimes, Hal. But what was I gonna say? So do you think at this point, that the Dabbleverse is post observe and report? Do you really feel like it's kind of past that at this point, where and what I mean by that is that there's been too much cross interaction where what I'm talking about is the fact that John has influenced Karl's show, and then Karl in turn has influenced John's show. Like, do you think that in other words, when everybody's doing commentary, interacting with each other, do you think it's impossible to observe and report? It's like,
yeah, in a way. The observe and report was always what they would say when they would remind people about when someone would go too far and try to call and affect someone's job or get them canceled from a club. They would say, no, we just want to, we observe and report. That's all we do. But there's there's too many people that do far more than just observe and report. I mean, there's the doxing stuff and people.
Oh, and I've been through that.
Affect jobs.
I've been through that too, man. I'm pretty sure that it's John's team. And this goes back to me having all that back and forth from 2-3 years ago with his chat moderator team. But I had this guy. Have you ever heard of?
I have.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about him, but I've heard the name.
Definitely watch out for that guy. So I'm not going to air this part because I don't want to give this guy any attention at all. So anyways. So
I didn't realize that people were sending coleslaw to Chad.
Oh, holy crap. That's a thing that started with Mersh. I don't know if you're a fan of Mersh at all. Revenge of the Sis.
I am. I haven't seen him since he got booted off YouTube, but
got booted off Twitter the other day too.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know what for.
He's having a rough time.
Yeah, no, honestly, I think things have been a little bit rough for him. I think their numbers have been down. I'm talking about Mersh and Royce. And they've been on Rumble now, which I always worry about that. And I do understand like why people are very protective of their monetization on YouTube, because to me, being on Rumble, when they have to make that move, when they have to make that move and they have to go on Rumble, to me, I feel like that's fucking scary, because I do not consider Rumble to be a viable platform. They're definitely not a viable competitor to YouTube.
No, I don't trust the numbers, and it's just not as user friendly and intuitive, and I wouldn't. it's not a place I would feel comfortable inviting people to, because I find it frustrating myself.
One of the biggest problems that I have with that site is the layout. It looks like fucking 1998. Like it looks like you're doing a dog pile search, or you're doing, you know what I'm talking about? You remember like those old, like how the internet used to look. It had no style to it. It was just very basic, and that's what Rumble looks like.
I don't know how to describe it yet, but yeah, it's got that old GeoCities homemade website look, type of feel to it.
I remember I made my first website on Angel Fire in 1999, and it was this was back when nobody had a website, and I was in 8th grade. So I walked around. I remember for like 5 years, my family and my teachers, everybody thought I was like a genius because I made this stupid Angel Fire website, and I just tricked them. I had them fooled, and I was like, awesome. Oh, cool, I can coast on this. I can just be an idiot for the next 5 years of my life, and hey, remember that website that I made? And it took me like 2 minutes. Fucking Stuttering John would have been able to make a website on GeoCities or Angel Fire,
but he didn't, and that's what matters.
Yeah, I use usually Zoom for my interviews because I really should stop using it, because I think I should probably switch to StreamYard or something. Same thing with OBS, because the problem is like there's a lot that I can control, a lot of stuff that I can do graphics wise with OBS. It's a nice program, it's open source, but I haven't figured out how to integrate like chat into it. So in other words, like what I'd like to be able to do is to do my live stream and to be able to have you zoom into it, but I don't know how to do that with the program. I think it's possible, but I'm like, I like the way I have everything set up. I've been doing a lot of work on the stream with like graphics and scenes and stuff like that. But I want to, like I said, I want to be able to have people zoom in. So I still haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah, I've never done a Zoom. I've never hosted a Zoom meeting interview. Like, I guess like right now, is it just a Zoom meeting that you're recording and then later you edit the recording?
Yeah, I'm gonna edit it.
It's that simple.
Yeah, so I have like Final Cut. So what I'll do is I'll just take it, I'll edit it for time and whatnot. Another thing I do is I'll zoom in and out. I'll do sort of a camera pan. So when you're talking, it'll be you on the screen, and then it'll cut to like widescreen, like it is right now, where it's us both.
Yeah.
And then if I'm talking, like it'll cut to me. So I do that because it breaks up the monotony a little bit. You know what I mean? Makes it feel a little less like a Zoom meeting sort of. And I've done. I think this might be like my 8th interview that I've done, but I think the person who inspired me was Husey, because he does his interviews like this, or he probably uses StreamYard or something now, but he would do this exact thing. And when I saw him do that, I'm like, oh shit, I'm like, that's kind of cool. You can edit it, and with a little bit of clever editing, it kind of makes it look like this. When this is all edited, this will look like a multi-camera interview. So
that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. So I like editing
like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man. I like the editing, and I'm really into that. Like, I actually was a video editor. That's what got me into doing the YouTube thing. So I used to make web ads for teachers that sell online curriculum during the pandemic. Like, I made a lot of money doing it, but it was it's definitely sort of applied. I've tried to use my skill and trying to get more into the graphic design aspect of things. Trying to pump a little more energy into it. With the music, try to make it more fun and more like an event, like when I do a stream kind of. So I was going to ask you, I was going to go into another question, and this is I think one of the best questions probably. So this is one of the things I really like that you did. I remember, and this is when you came on my radar. So you came on my radar when you did that Chad Zumock interview. Like, why do you think Chad was so hostile toward you? It seemed like he was paranoid for what seemed like no reason at all, and you were really cool with him.
I'll never know. I don't know. He probably, I mean, I'm pretty sure he thought I was one of some part of some Reddit group that shit talks him or something, but I didn't know anything about all that. And I don't know, like
what was it, like Mud Sharks Anonymous or some shit like that? It's like I
don't even know what it was called, but no, it's just at the end, at some point in the interview, he referenced me being one of those Reddit trolls or something like that, and I was like, I had no idea where that was coming from, so I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, man.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, though, is the paranoia of just assuming, you know what I mean, that everybody's just a troll. And it's funny because I think that in essence, I think it's like a Schrodinger's cat kind of thing, where I think at the same time, we're all trolls, but at the same time, we're all kind of people that we're just trying to get by, and we're trying to live our lives too. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's kind of hard to like distinguish. But I remember I did a couple of episodes where I was I wore a shirt that said troll at the top. It was like troll life or something, but at the top it said troll. And I was kind of embracing the whole idea that like I'm a troll and this is like what my show is all about. And I was going on a show. I zoomed into a show of a guy he's like a good friend of mine now, Zach Waldman. He actually knew John too. He used to be an intern for Howard Stern, and he got fired in '97 for streaking. I'll have to send you the link to my interview with him because he was really awesome. I think you dig him. But
Okay.
but at first when I was talking to him, he like I was just chat. I'm sorry, I was in the chat in his show, and then he went and Googled me. He's like, "Oh, Adam Goldstein, who are you?" And he Googled me and saw the troll thing on one of my videos, and he's like, "Oh," and he was cool. He eventually warmed up to me, but at first he's like, "How do I know that you're not a troll? How do I know you're not?" It's funny though how this troll culture on the internet is so ubiquitous. It really is so commonplace now, but at the same time, like a lot of people are really scared. They really don't. You know what I mean? They don't want to be fucked with. They don't want to engage. And I mean, I can kind of understand for how are people really supposed to know the different, who the trolls are and who the people are. And I think
Well,
the people who are the real trolls, they get off on that because they have to pass themselves off,
It's easy to not get fucked with. You don't put yourself out there. Like if I wanted to catch zero shit from anyone, I'd just fucking stop doing this.
Yeah. Well, you definitely got to have a thick skin because it's it's unfortunate that people who obviously couldn't handle stuff made the decision to get themselves on the internet. And I mean, obviously this internet thing, there's some people, I don't know if you follow the internet blood sports thing from years ago, like Ethan Ralph, or if you're into that Dick Masterson world of fucking shit, which to me is like exhausting. And that's the thing, the one thing I don't like about the direction when I was talking to you earlier, about like the sort of peak of the Dabbleverse is I don't want to see it turn into internet blood sports because that's, you know what I mean? That's when shit just gets ugly, and it's ugly for the sake of ugly.
I mean, shit's getting ugly. It's already gotten ugly. I feel like with the MLC, Chad, and all that stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe on a different level, but
honestly, I really didn't. I haven't listened to WATP in a long time. But most of the reason for that is because I feel like MLC was like the worlds were kind of colliding, and it was becoming, I feel like it was becoming such a big part of it. Obviously, John, when I stopped listening, obviously John wasn't back yet. So he was gone. To me, it just felt like it was a whole different thing. It's like, oh, it's just going to be Kevin Brennan now. And like I said, like, I don't hate Kevin Brennan. I just don't, like he doesn't really do much for me.
I'm one of those FKB guys.
Yeah.
Just like he can suck a dick.
Well, you know what it is? It's just the whining, the constant fucking whining. I feel like it's not very becoming of anybody, and it's kind of feminine, I feel like, after a while.
Yeah, he's a big lady.
Who the hell is this Jim Stencil guy that he keeps whining about? I feel like I've heard his name so many times. I have no idea who the fuck he is. Is he good? Is he funny?
He I mean, yeah, I guess he's funny. I don't know. I don't really know much about him, but he's one of the Compound Media guys, I believe.
Oh, all right.
I know him from Gino's show or something. I don't know. He does something with Compound Media. I don't know at what capacity, but he's pretty tight with them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's funny because Gino, I remember you had Gino on, I don't remember if it was you went on his show, but you did like a crossover kind of thing with Gino.
Yeah, it was fun. I think it was either In Hot Water or Gum Friday. I was one of their shows.
How did your opinion of Chad change after the whole feud with SteelToe? Because the funny thing is, like, I never had a problem with Chad. I really don't hate Chad, but I just, I really didn't like the way that he handled himself, even though it seemed like he kind of flipped the script and he turned the tables when maybe he hit his stride a little bit and he was doing what he wanted to do when he did the Cumia's Cucks thing. But like, what my opinion is like the one thing that I will say is I feel like it was Aaron that was suddenly on the hot seat, and you know what I'm talking about, all the shit he was getting from Nobody Likes Onions and Melton, and that's like a whole nother world of shit, obviously. But I said to myself when I was watching Cumia's Cucks, I had to say to myself, because I always had laughed at Chad and made fun of him, but I thought to myself, you know what? I think maybe Aaron might have underestimated this guy a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I think he probably did. I think they underestimated each other.
Yeah.
And things just kept escalating. I didn't really follow that much of that, or really care about the feud between SteelToe and Chad. I didn't. I guess I was, if I had to pick a side, I was on, taking SteelToe's side, just because
Yeah.
Chad was being a shit to me, and most of the time he had me blocked. Around that time, but
And that's what I don't understand is you were so nice to him, and it's like I know it was like you almost looked like you were beside yourself. I remember seeing you like right now, like you were cracking a smile and you were laughing when he was getting all mad, but you weren't fucking doing anything. Like it was like he just trolled himself, or he made the mistake of going, you know what? I don't trust this guy. I feel insecure, but I'm gonna have him on anyway. Hey, you know what? Newsflash. I just want to say to everybody who is gonna be passive aggressive about appearances and shit, you know what? Next time somebody invites you on a podcast and you don't want to go on, say no. I don't understand why some people
yeah. Yeah. Just like honestly, I had no idea if he was gonna even show. I figured it was a 50-50 shot either way.
Well, it was a great interview. I'm glad that he did, but it's just
me too. No regrets.
I just really think he shouldn't have been I hate when people when people do stuff that is so over the line, and it's just the thing is none of that's necessary. Like when he started posting pictures of Aaron's kid and trying to reach out to his wife, I thought to myself, you know what, you wouldn't do this if you felt like you were winning. Like to me, it reminds me of
that's a desperate move.
Exactly. That's what I mean. When you call and you threaten someone and you say, I'm going to fucking kill you and I'm going to fucking rape your wife, motherfucker. Yeah. When you do that, you're in a position of weakness. Like you know what I'm saying? You've already lost when you feel the need. That's desperate. That's a last. It's like,
and it felt that way. Even hearing him talk about how he was going to take April from Aaron. He's going to marry April, right? Impregnate her. Like he was saying all this.
Yeah, that sounds a little rapey.
Yeah, and it was just like it sounded like a desperate man.
When you attack whatever you think the rules are about fairness, I mean, technically April was covering him. I feel like it's one thing to make fun of her a little bit, but I also feel like, you know what, you're never going to come out good attacking a woman, no matter what. Even if you think it's justified, even if you think the woman's a douchebag, or you know what I'm saying?
She'd have to be widely considered a piece of shit, like by nearly everyone.
Even then, it's like you're not gonna win. You're just not gonna win. So don't.
No, probably not.
Yeah. So to me, I never understood that. I thought that was definitely psychotic. But I got to admit though, when I saw Cumia, I thought Cumia's Cucks was kind of funny. I thought he had some funny bits. I liked it because it was Chad being silly, but definitely a little bit unhinged, you know?
Yeah, he was having fun with it, and it was he was trying to do his own thing, and I mean, he still does it, doesn't he?
I think so. But, you know, honestly, I got to be honest with you. I don't follow a lot of this stuff. I really fell off when it comes to following stuff. I don't know what Stuttering John's really doing. I get dribs and drabs. Like I'll read stuff, but I don't watch the shows. I don't really plan on covering most of the stuff. Like I'm excited to have, you know, I'm looking forward to having this interview with you. Like I'm glad to talk about this stuff with you. Maybe I'll have to live more vicariously through other podcasters. But so, you know what I mean? I get my information secondhand, but it's I don't even know, like I guess John's doing a show now. What is it, the Hypocrisy Police or something like that?
I guess that's what he still calls it. I never even really check it. I just click on it. But usually it's him and that DG guy.
Oh, okay. Is he not worried about being he's gonna get, if he's not careful, he's gonna get a charge for impersonating an officer.
Bomb, 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 bomb.
The DG guy?
No, that is just a bad joke. The Hypocrisy Police.
Oh,
because he has a shirt that says Hypocrisy Police. If he,
yeah,
you know what it's
too.
If John really wanted to commit to that bit, if this were Cardiff's bit, you know what he would do? He would have a police uniform. He'd have a siren. You know what I mean? He'd make it.
You'd be able to tell there was far more effort put in.
Like what I'm wondering is, do you think that John saw Chad start to kind of figure out how to capitalize on things a little bit? Do you think John is basically copying the Cumia's Cucks model?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, John got introduced to this whole Dabbleverse thing, and Kevin Brennan, and how much he can make on super chats, and John saw potential, and now I think that's what he's going to try to do and make a living off of that, I guess, somehow. Hell, I have no idea how.
Well, he got demonetized off YouTube though, so I don't know exactly what his business model's supposed to be.
He's demonetized off YouTube?
That's what I heard. I don't know if I'm assuming it's not like a permanent thing, but he lost. I heard at one point he lost his super chats, and I don't know.
He did. He did while after he, went into hiding or whatever you'd call it, for sure, because he took his videos down.
Yeah, he has like what 150,000 subs, and I don't know if he even John himself, I don't know if he generates enough traffic to really, like, you know what I mean? Is that really like an income? I guess he's got other sources of income. He's probably get those residual checks and stuff.
No, I'm not saying it's a smart plan. I'm just saying, I think that he came in, he saw MLC at its peak of the super chats that were flowing in. And he probably thought that's the normal amount, and this made the decision to not go back to teaching. He just enjoys this more.
I'm sure that there's some shows that they go through periods of time where they're doing well, they're making good money. But the problem is, though, it's not like consistent. It's not reliable future income. It's not like when you get a job and you're going to be making $150,000 a year. It's very, what's the word? It's very risky. It's almost like running your own business where something could happen and you need to prepare for the future. And from like, I just feel like if you're in your 50s or whatever, you're in your 60s and you're a podcaster and you're relying on super chats. I mean, that doesn't sound glamorous or like even that comfortable to me. That sounds fucking scary.
Yeah, I don't think a financial advisor would recommend that strategy.
No. So yeah, I mean, I hope things work out for him. I feel bad because I know whatever happens for John, it's going to be, I don't know. I can't imagine that his life is going to get a whole lot easier. And I honestly feel the same way for a lot of podcasters. I think that it's, a lot of these people, I think they kind of drive themselves nuts. Like it's not, you know what I mean? It's another thing too, when you have a job where you can set your own schedule. And I've done that before because I used to be an Uber driver. And when you have a job where you can set your own schedule, it's a blessing and it's a curse, So I was going to ask you, what got you interested in 3D printing? I've seen a lot of the cool stuff that you've been working on. Now, how did that start?
I've had my 3D printer for I don't know, probably 10 years now. And I don't know, they've just always fascinated me. I liked the idea of being able to produce small scale models of renderings that you can make on a computer. Like you can take something, design it, and then make a physical representation of your design. And so that's neat to me.
Yeah, it sounds to me the whole process of how, I know like the printer, obviously it's going to take care of everything. It's fascinating how it works. But for me, just the 3D modeling software, I tried using this open source software called Blender. And I swear to God, man, it was a humbling experience. Let's put
it's overwhelming.
Yeah. So you've used that program before, or?
I've tried it. Yeah. I for the most part, I use I can't even remember. I think it's called Tinkercad.
Oh, okay.
Online. It's just a web-based one, and it's pretty nice.
What material do you actually print? Can you print stuff out of a variety of materials, or is there like some certain polyethylene or polyurethane?
There's a variety of filaments you can use. Like I've had ABS plastic, PLA. I don't even know what the hell it stands for, but that's the most common one. It's just PLA. That's the type of plastic. And whichever kind you get, there's just endless variety of filaments underneath that umbrella. Like most of mine are PLA, but looking over to the side, I can see I have a filament that's wood. It has wood particles in it. Like when you print, it smells like you're sanding MDF board.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah,
I don't know what MDF board is, but
a speaker box board, something you'd have like a. You ever had a speaker box in a vehicle, like with subwoofer or any of that?
Oh, all right. Yeah, I'm not like a technical or a handy guy, so I like you're having me wishing I had a cool hobby like you do, because that's friggin' awesome, the 3D printing stuff. And it sounds like you're an early adopter of it too, because 10 years ago you really weren't you know what I mean? I don't feel like it's as common as it is now.
It may have been 8 years or so ago, but no, yeah, it was it is. I mean, it's an older printer. It's one of the early Prusa model printers that they had. But it's just still plugging away like it did on day one. So
no, that's amazing, especially where it's something where it's got a lot of mechanical components in it too.
You know what I mean? And they ship it to you in like bags of parts. Like I had to completely assemble it. All the screws were, the circuit board, everything was separated, and you had to assemble it and calibrate it and all that shit. It took, I think, 2 full days just to build the damn printer. But building it, I had a much better understanding of how to fix it if things were going wrong with it. So that ended up helping.
That's good. Yeah. Well, I imagine 10 years ago it must have cost you a few bucks to get one of those.
Yeah, I think this one was $850 when I got it, and I had to wait 3 or 4 months to get it. They were back ordered so far at that time. It was a smaller operation that company had back then, and but no, yeah, they're way cheaper now, and yeah, no back order.
You think that the print shops are gonna start to, like, they must you know what I'm talking about? Like, I know we're not really at that stage where like everybody's gonna have a 3D printer in their house, but is there like 3D printing shops, like a place where I could go, you hand them a disc or give them a file and say, hey, I have this this thing for this Korn action figure that I want to make, and then they'd be able to print it out and bill you? Like
probably so. Yeah, I'm sure there's got to be something like that. I know that there's websites that you can do that. You can just upload your design, and they'll print it in whatever filament you want and mail you the perfect print. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty awesome.
You know what I think that you should make? I think that you should 3D print, or you should find a way to have corn cob holders where it's like you, but like you are, you know what I'm talking about? The thing with the spike where you put it on the corn cob, and I feel like that'd be a good item for you to have.
It could. Yeah. I've got some products, but I haven't found anywhere to make branded corn cob holders, but there's got to be something out there. So I'll keep an eye out. I like that idea.
Yeah. I just figured that would be really meta, because it's like your corn, and then you're using it to eat the corn, and
it's true.
Yeah, that would be so meta. That's so meta.
Meta.
I was gonna ask you another thing too. So you seem like a really easygoing, like, and level-headed person, but obviously you're only human. What kind of stuff really irritates you and pisses you off? And I'm talking about in general, like when it comes to your dealings with people online. Like what is it that really, if you could really sum up the thing that really kind of grinds your gears?
I don't like the doxing. I've been threatened with it before. I've heard lots of people get threatened with it. I know the feeling, and it's terrible, and no one should have to deal with that. So
yeah,
I don't know, that's the first thing that came to mind.
Normally I don't care. I've gotten death threats. I've had people blow up my phone. I've had so much shit. And I think like some of it's random people. I don't always know who it is, but I usually don't personally worry about it. You know what I mean? Like I had someone threaten me. They said, hey, I'm going to come to your house and I'm going to kill you. And I say, okay, where do I live? Tell me where I live then, if you know where and they just didn't respond. And I go, listen, if you knew where I was, you wouldn't even threaten me too. You would just come here. So, you know what I mean? I try to use my logic to go, okay, somebody, you know what I mean? I don't really think that someone's actually going to hurt me, but it's the principle of somebody threatening me. Like that's pretty fucked up. And
no one should have to deal with that shit.
No, absolutely not. But it's just so weird. But I'm sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent here. But anyways, so it's something that I totally understand that, and that I think that there's just all that bullshit is totally unnecessary, and it does nothing to further comedy. You know what I mean? It
No.
definitely doesn't make the universe better. It doesn't achieve anything, but the people that do it, I think they feel powerless or something, you know, to
I-
threaten somebody. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So one other question, I was just going to ask you one more question. What is it that keeps you motivated to keep doing content?
I know that if I stop for too long, I'll probably stop it altogether. So I'm just trying to not be a lazy ass, and I force myself to do something. So if I feel like I haven't done anything in a little while, I'll hop on and do a Lego stream or a truck driving stream.
Yeah, I like that stuff, man. That's awesome. And you know what? I think you're not alone too, because a lot of us, I think, like I honestly could keep up with my output and be more consistent. Obviously, like I have a life outside of this and I do other stuff, but I know what you mean though. When it comes to YouTube, consistency definitely does help.
Yeah, yeah. And I have not had it yet, not up to this point.
So how is your show with Zero Dark Tony going?
It's going great. Ripcast, I don't even know what episode we're on. We're close to our 50th episode. That'll be coming up soon.
Nice.
Going to be going live later this evening. And yeah, it's going great, man. Stop by and check it out.
Sure.
We'll give you a shout out in the chat. And,
yeah, thanks, man. It's really been great talking to you, CORNdiff. I really appreciate you coming on. Is there anything else that you'd like to plug? Where can people find your content?
Well, it's been great being on here with you, and thanks for the invite, man. Definitely, I'm glad to finally meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
All my info can be found on CORNdiff.com. It's just my Linktree page. But I would say most importantly, find me on YouTube at CORNdiff and subscribe.
Nice. That sounds awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, and definitely I'd love to have you back on sometime. Like I said, I'm trying to do more stuff, so I'll be doing more streams, and I'll let you know when I figure out how the hell to incorporate this into my stream. I'll let you know, man. I'll get with you, and I'll definitely send you a link.
Good deal. Awesome, man. I appreciate it.
Cool. Yeah, no, me too, man. Well, you have a great night. It was great talking to you.
You too, man. Have a good one. Bye.
All right. Thanks. You too.